We're going to start this morning with President Trump's brazen proposal for Gaza. Yesterday, the president announced the United States should seek control of the enclave and that the nearly 2 million Palestinians living there should relocate to Egypt or Jordan, a move both countries have vehemently opposed. The president made the comment during a joint press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The two leaders met at the White House yesterday, and it comes as negotiators are discussing the next phase of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire agreement, which is supposed to include more humanitarian aid and reconstruction supplies for the people of Gaza.
We should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. I envision a world, people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. And I think the entire world, representatives from all over the world will be there, and they'll live there. Palestinians also. Palestinians will live there. Many people will live there. We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent.
Trump's comments have sent shockwaves throughout the region and here at home. In Saudi Arabia, the country's Foreign Affairs Ministry said its stance on the establishment of a Palestinian state remains a firm, unwavering position. Hamas released a statement rejecting Trump's plans, calling his comments a recipe for creating chaos and tension in the region. Meanwhile, NBC News caught up with several senators yesterday to ask them about what the president said.
First I heard of it, I said, seems like there's a few kinks in that slinky. We'll see what he meant.
What do you mean by kinks in that slinky?
Well, I don't know if you know about a slinky, but if it kinks, you can't use it anymore. I don't know how it would play out if what he said, or what you all have said. I haven't seen the first-hand account, but obviously it's not going to happen.
I think that'd be a tough place to be assigned if you're an American soldier. So, we'll see what the Arab world says, but, that'd be problematic at many, many levels.
I'm speechless. That's insane. I can't think of a place on earth that would welcome American troops less and where any positive outcome is less likely, and why on earth we would abandon decades of well-established humanitarian programs around the world and now launch into one of the world's greatest humanitarian challenges.
I mean, the United States should not take anybody's home. Number two, us nation building in the Middle East, if you haven't learned anything from 2001 to 2025, you haven't been paying attention. We are very bad at that.
All right, some bipartisan condemnation there. Jonathan Lemire, your latest reporting for The Atlantic references Senator Graham's response. It's entitled Trump's Wild Plan for Gaza. And you write in part this: any direct U.S. intervention in Gaza would fly in the face of Trump's long-standing desire to disengage from foreign entanglements. He began negotiations to withdraw U.S. forces from Afghanistan, wants to slash aid to Ukraine, and has threatened to abandon military positions in Korea, Europe, and Syria. And it may face pushback at home from some usually reliable allies. I think that would be an interesting proposal, Senator Lindsey Graham told reporters on Capitol Hill after Trump spoke. We'll see what our Arab friends say about that. I think most South Carolinians would probably not be excited about sending Americans to take over Gaza. It might be problematic. And Jonathan Lemire, Tom Tellis, I think, had the quote of the day: a few kinks in the slinky.
Yeah, that's a new one. I'm not aware of that particular phrase, but it works. We'll run with it this morning. But yeah, it is.
It works.
It is a breathtakingly audacious proposal here from Donald Trump, one that was indeed met with a lot of pushback immediately. First, as noted, this flies in the face of how Trump views foreign policy. He wants to pull back U.S. engagement. And yesterday, he was asked repeatedly whether or not U.S. troops would be sent to Gaza to help secure it while it's being rebuilt. He did not rule that out. This, of course, is a conflict that has been in the Gaza. There's decades in the making, a contested land since Israel's creation in 1948. This is the first time a U.S. president has suggested something like this, with the U.S. being an occupying force. We have seen that Saudi Arabia, as you just said, already, which is seemingly close to normalizing relations with Israel, has already said we're not going to do this. And that is just a preview of what is expected to be the reaction from throughout the Arab world, who want to see the Palestinians get their own state, who don't want to be taking Palestinian refugees into their own country, who don't want to hand Israel potentially that territory. It's certainly a significant win for Prime Minister Netanyahu were this to happen. The right-wing elements in his coalition want to move in both on Gaza and, of course, the West Bank. And we also, this is Donald Trump, a White House aide told me last night, who does feel emboldened with a swagger, if you will, in this second term, believing that he could get a big deal done. Few would be bigger than this, even though part of this might even be a real estate transaction, something that he has considered in the past, talking about Gaza's beachfront property, even the Riviera of the Middle East. For much, much more on this, let's bring in President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haass. He is author of the weekly newsletter Home and Away, which is, of course, available on Substack, as well as retired CIA officer Mark Polymeropoulos. He is an NBC News security and intelligence analyst. Richard, let's start with you. I mean, your reaction, it is hard to know at a time how seriously to take this. Is Donald Trump actually suggesting sending military troops to the Middle East, to Gaza, or is this the beginning of some sort of negotiation, an extreme position, if you will, perhaps to apply pressure on the region and allows him to maybe dial it back a little bit to get something done? But even that seems so far-fetched. It
seems far-fetched. We're all used to the idea of an opening bid. And so one of my first reactions was to try to play this out. Where could this lead? You've got, for example, the King of Jordan showing up in Washington in a few days. One of the dangers is that Donald Trump actually tries to follow this up, puts enormous pressure on countries like Jordan, which are already vulnerable, threatens to remove, the $1.7 billion in aid. So I worry that this is a non-starter. Let me just say that with the Palestinians, Jonathan. Let's just posit that. This is going to be unacceptable to the Palestinians. The question is there follow-up? Does this cause crises in Jordan?
Right.
Does this cause crises in Egypt? Does this encourage some of the worst elements in Israel? It's one thing to think big about the Middle East. When I thought the Trump administration might think big about the Middle East, I assumed it was to maybe press Bibi to go in the direction of some type of a Palestinian state, which, among other things, would bring the Saudis on board and so forth. This is thinking big, but in a way that's totally at odds with the history and political realities of the region. So it makes me think, one, what you mentioned, the swagger. There's a grandiosity to this, as though history doesn't matter. I think there's a little bit of that here, that in a sense that Donald Trump is not bounded by history. And also, it raises fundamental questions, and you're closer to it than I am, as is Ali, about the policy process. You could not have a rigorous policy process filled with experts on the Middle East and come up with this proposal. There is no way you could get from there to where we now are.
And Mika, as we see these images here of the devastation in Gaza, 15 months of conflict, but this is still home to 2.2 million people. And Donald Trump is talking about displacement on just a staggering scale.
I've heard a lot of different words about this, but the ones that stand out to me is this is impossible, this will never happen, maybe he doesn't mean it. And I would like to try and put a pause on that thinking to an extent, because I think we've learned by now, and a lot of what we talked about here on Morning Joe during the campaign is Donald Trump does mean it. He means it. This is a man who said during the campaign he would pardon January 6 rioters, and he has done so. This is a man who said that he would be your retribution and threatened retribution to people who worked on cases against him. That is happening right now in the FBI. Let's stop surmising as to whether or not he means it, because he means it. OK, so Mark Polymeropoulos, my question to you is, what will the promotion of this idea do to the delicate state of affairs in the region?
Right, Mika. And so I think every CIA station chief in the Middle East woke up this morning with a migraine headache, because there's a potential for a generational counterterrorism nightmare here. You have to look at the words that Donald Trump used yesterday, quote, take over Gaza. Own Gaza. These are triggering mechanisms for Islamic extremist groups. Remember, Osama bin Laden's biggest beef with the United States decades ago was the U.S. troop presence in Saudi Arabia. Al-Qaeda in Iraq, same thing, the insurgency based on U.S. troops in Iraq. So this kind of language only is going to galvanize groups that want to kill Americans. And if I was in the CIA and is still in the CIA and the counterterrorism community, I'd be monitoring the Islamic extremist forums, because this is just a tremendous own goal. And I worry that even if these are just words, as Richard said, perhaps part of some strange negotiating gambit, Americans might be less safe now. And I can't imagine anybody in the CIA or the State Department who would have advocated this approach.
Let's talk about the ceasefire agreement in place. I mean, there are hostages still due to come home. We are watching these reunions. They're incredibly emotional. I know President Trump is very much into seeing these reunions and positive things like that happening, hoping to take credit for them and things like that. What could these comments and this intention do to the ceasefire agreement that's in place right now?
Well, sure, Mika, because there's a delicate balance that's going on right now, and we're trying to get through this phase one, perhaps to get to phase two, but there are still hostages who need to be released. And so if you're Hamas right now and you hear these comments, you know, how do you, even if there was some, you know, distrust in the past, but how do you see the U.S. as an interlocutor that you can agree with when they're saying all of the Palestinians have to be removed from the Gaza Strip with all of this kind of fanciful language? So, you know, even this kind of strange rhetoric from Trump could really alter a very delicate negotiating pattern right now, which has seen hostages released. More are supposed to come this weekend. We'll see.
All right, NBC News security and intelligence analyst Mark Polymeropoulos, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.